all they want to do is go out and see what's going on, you know. But then you realize there's nothing going on except for what you got going on. So we have a lot going on, and it wouldn't be possible without the support from you guys. So thank you to you guys. Just with this round of applause is for you guys. So, all right. Yeah. So the only word I have is follow your dreams. There's going to be days where you feel like it's not possible, and there's going to be days where you're going to feel like down, depressed. There's going to be times where it's going to be very tough. You're not going to have these moments of heightened levels of emotion. And there's going to be times you're just by yourself. In those moments, just know that the world is waiting for you to be yourself. And we want to see that person. Always follow your dreams, because we want the world deserves meeting you. Without getting much more intense and emotional, let's start Rampage Electra, guys.
Tell us about how you became a filmmaker. How did it all start?
I just always wanted to be a filmmaker. I've always wanted to be a filmmaker ever since I was a little kid. I just loved the idea of making something for people to watch. It's just, that to me was just such a exciting thing that was possible. And I always was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Without taking any proactive steps. I was an actor for a local community event for these two college students. They were made these local videos for the mosque or the church, and I was just an actor, and I would just sit next to them for hours watching them edit. Move one thing one frame and render it for 20 minutes, and then move one thing one frame and render it for 20 minutes, and just seeing the process of video editing. How long that was? When I was 16, so almost 16 years ago, you know. So it was I just loved it. I just loved the whole process of it. And then the inspirations were from comedy movies. I just wanted, my biggest movies that inspired me were all Ben Stiller's work, was Jim Carrey's work, was all the Super Trooper, the Broken Lizard people. You know, comedy was my initial first, this is what I want to do. And it was later in my life that I started being captivated by the serious movies. It was the first time I watched There Will Be Blood. I was just blown away. And then I had I did, and then it was weird because slowly I started being fascinated with Paul Thomas Anderson movies before I even cared or knew or who directors were. I just watched movies. I didn't.
Yeah.
Before I was a filmmaker, I realized nobody really knows who directors are.
Only directors and filmmakers know who the crew is at all. You know.
There's a style that I can clearly see that I'm drawn to. And it was Paul Thomas Anderson. Quentin Tarantino was an early. I think a lot of people were Tarantino. It was a very common thing for people to Tarantino movies, but Paul Thomas Anderson was when I started watching his movies, I was just it shifted a gear. I was no, I can make series. I was not necessarily I can make this. It was more that I was captivated by it. And
cool.
Yeah, so that was just got over all my 20s of being a drunk, and then finally taking myself seriously and taking proactive steps. I moved to Australia. My family's been here. We reconciled. We weren't getting along so well, and I had to I did a work and holiday visa, and then COVID happened, and there was much farm work. So I was how can I stay here? Let me go to school. I was really interested in opening an avocado orchard, opening my own avocado farm. So I was going to go study horticulture to learn how to, become an avocado farmer. But then they were oh, that starts the beginning of the semester. So you have to do something second semester. I'm okay, well, what is it that I can do for fun? What's something that's actually interests me? Oh, film and television. Okay, let's do that. And then the rest is history,
What was your actual first film? When you started making films, did you just straight away go for, the director role?
I made music videos when I was 17, 18. I made I would always make these small my own YouTube videos back with my friend, and they were awful. It was just no idea about cinematography at all, no idea about lighting, no idea about not framing, composition, nothing. Just had a camera the worst way. There might have been a glimpse of some potential, maybe, but I highly doubt. But it was
Yeah.
So the earlier stuff before I fully was just like, this is what I'm going to pursue and get better at, you know. So in terms of that, first was when we came here. The first one we did was this short film idea that I had. It was called I Care. It's about a couple at a cafe. They just are bickering, and then the guy is trying to be funny with the server, like being charming, and then the girl is just like, stop, like, no, stop doing that, you're not funny, no one cares. And he like sulks, and every guy one by one stands up in the cafe going, I care, I care, I care too. And all the guys march off going, boys night, boys night. So that was my first idea. And what I did is it was like the second, third week of TAFE, we were in Cert 3. I was just like, hey guys, I want to make short films, short videos. I want to make a bunch of them. And I think this is the perfect place. Who's with me? And then that's how it started. And to answer your question, I didn't know, like that's in that class I met James Dudfield. And before that, my biggest goal was I just need to meet one person that I can work with, and then everything is possible. And for him, it was like, for me, I was just like, everybody wants to be the director. Everybody wants to, you know, have that lead role. So I was just like, James, are you like, do you want to direct as well? Or he goes, no, I just want to be behind the camera. And I was like, what? That's a thing? I didn't know there was a DP. I didn't know what a DP was. I didn't know what a gaffer was. I didn't know what any of this stuff was. I was just like, what? You're okay with just like, you know, letting me operate and deal with people? But then I just learned, like, no, that's a whole other world.
Yeah. Some people aspire to be like a boom operator. What?
Yeah, no, I've had the pleasure of meeting people now that are just so passionate about sound. It gets me excited that they're passionate and they love being part of a team. But like people are like, I want to be a boom operator, because in all honesty, man, it's probably one of the best ways to fit into a film role, because it's a highly, it's an overlooked art. Nobody wants to do it, but it's like one of the most important pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, I really agree with that, actually. Yeah, back when I was still studying film and everything, I feel like one of the roles I ended up doing a lot for at least one of the years of study was the boom operating, and I found it really quite good because it kind of like gets you right in the center of the action. There would be times where there'll be like the family talking around a table or something, and I'm like underneath the table, like between their legs, like listening to this whole thing, you know?
You're all up in there, dude. You're all up in there. You're like, I'm getting the best sound possible. And same here, man. Like, every time the sound operator can't make it, I'm always like, go-to backup. Sometimes people are like, oh, let me do it. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it, because I know, like, you know, and the thing is, after Cert 3, everyone that I met continued on the film and television in Northbridge. I switched courses. I went to Leaderville and did sound production for 2 years, just because I wanted to familiarize myself with the technical aspect of sound for film. I mean, I learned a million different ways of how not to do something, you know? Like, I'm like, what did I learn? I was like, I learned a bunch of ways I shouldn't do something. That's all I really, which is a good learning experience, but just learning what to actually do. Hopefully, I don't know.
I think for me, sound was always one of my weaknesses. I'd be watching someone editing sound, and they'd be like, it's not quite right. I'm just gonna do this, and we'll move that there, and everything's like, now listen to it. It's like, to me, it's exactly the same. I don't know what they do, but they're like,
I mean, there's pretentious people on all sides of the spectrum. Just move things around. One of the people was just like, turn the lighting down from 35% to 32%, and I pretended like I did. I'm like, did it? He goes, yeah, that's better. I'm like, is it better? Is it better? Is it better? No, but I've grown an exponential appreciation for cinematography, because on set, this time more than ever, I just really watched James Dudfield, like his growth and how much he like really applies what he's been learning, and to a point where I'm like, oh, I don't have to stand behind the camera and look anymore. I can just be doing something else. So
you can trust him. You know that he's going to get something good. I've been looking at his work a lot lately, and he's got some really good stuff.
There's a lot of filmmakers in Perth that have incredible talent, and in terms of, all the way from actors to people from like behind the camera to in front of the camera. It's all, yeah, it's crazy how it just needs more, it needs to be developed in a way that it feeds us back. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like I'm really excited to see what happens in the near future, because like I feel like there are a lot of people like you, and trying these sort of like ambitious projects and everything, and just trying to I guess give Perth a bit more than I don't want to like offend people, but just documentaries, because Perth was known for a long time as like the documentary city.
Yeah, because it's I feel like everyone who kind of like takes a step up, looks around, goes, nope, I'm going out east, and you can't really blame them, like what are they gonna do, you know what I mean? Like they're gonna go. So like to have this idea, this ambitious idea to like create something that doesn't exist here, it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of vision. But for me, it's like my family's here. I love the lifestyle here. I love like the calmness of the city. I love like the nightlife that it has. It's very well balanced in my opinion. I'm just like, the only thing that's missing here is something that we can build. And so what? It might take 5, 10, 15 years. Whatever crazy amount it's going to take, it's not here. It's so I'm more than happy to just keep chipping away, man.
It just needs that handful of handful of filmmakers that are gonna push the envelope a bit and build the foundations, and then it kind of makes it easier for everyone else after that.
I think, I mean, like it's very tough to understand. For me, you can make content, but if that content is not connected to any like stream service or any distribution, then it's just like, it doesn't matter how good the content is if you don't have, like, before the content is made, a clear path. And that's kind of like the discouraging aspect of an indie filmmaker. It's like, you make something, before you make it, how many times I heard, oh, well, like over 99% of these kind of projects don't make anything, and it's just like, so why even try? And it's just like, well, because I'm like, that's not how it works, buddy. And I'm like, so what? I don't do anything?
When I'm talking to a lot of people, and at some point they might discover that I do film or something, and then there's so many people that are like, oh, like I really wanted to do film, I would have loved to have do film, but just so many people are sort of like talked out of it because it's not like a viable option, or like a promising career or anything like that. It's certainly hard to get started, but it is possible.
Yeah, I mean, anything is possible. Like, I'm a dreamer, man. I if you see it and you move one foot in front of the other, like, and you head it that way, you'll get there eventually. So it's like, I'm sure as well how tough the hard days can be, and those days where you're not at a screening of your event, you're just at like the front end of a huge project, and you're like, how is this going to happen? But you just in those days it gets hard, man. Like, it gets hard, but like and then it's like you're consciously going, I'm not going into commercial promotional work. I'm going into narrative filmmaking, which is like a dying thing, allegedly. But we all know that there's a need for it. We all know that's what people need and want and crave. An original, fresh story where they leave the theater feeling like they just had an experience. And then, so I'm always gonna, let's do it, man.
I'm excited because I feel like right now there's actually more opportunity than there's ever been before. And, sure, it might not be that easy to get a film onto Netflix or something like that, but like, the ability to create your own thing, I feel like it's never been easier to create your own like options. Like, you can create your own company, you can create your own business, and create a new app, or create like whatever it is that you want to do. It's
the cameras now, like we're using DSLRs. We're not using REs, we're not using Reds, we're not using Blackmagic camera. We're just using like Sony 7S3s, which I think is the name. I'm not too much of a technical person myself, but I understand through the experience. I listen, pay attention to what it does. Like, we can shoot an S-Log3, which means that you have more choice in the color grade, and therefore it's like, these are the technical aspects. So I'm like, what? But now I have slightly better understanding of it. Not nearly as good of an understanding that the camera department, cinematography department has, but. Like, this wasn't accessible 5 years, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You couldn't even reach the equipment used to bare minimum qualify your content as professional. You know, it was just, that's what it was. Now anyone has the chance, and for us to be this close to it and this discouraged, it's like, come on, like, you know something's up, man.
Like right now, you have the option, like you can just grab a camera, you can go out and you can film things, you know, like that is an option, whereas before that was not an option.
It was not an option. It was literally, and then on top of that, the software required to edit. Like I'm telling you, I used to move one frame, wait 20 minutes to render, and then watch it. Like, I don't know if I was doing it wrong and my workflow was all messed up, and you can like, oh no, 20. Or I don't know if that was like the general consensus of like, no, that's
oh no, just do this tick box, then it'll be like a minute, you know.
Yeah, and I'm like, using proxies. I learned about proxies last year, but then we weren't using 4K footage like 10 years ago, so like the proxies only come out. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff is just so accessible now. Like there's no excuse to not do something other than allowing negativity to discourage you, and just not utilizing your time. And it's tough to be critical of how people utilize their time, because I spent a lot of time like wallowing in self-pity at times, just like, well, sometimes I'm in bed and it's past 10 a.m. and I'm just like, that's it, the day's done, bro. I can't, like, today I'm just gonna sit here
and do anymore.
I can't do it. I didn't get up in time, and now I'm just stuck here and I'm just gonna spend all day just, it's the bad days can be quite low, but as long as you like the next day you'll probably feel better, and then just trust that it's not always, that bad feeling is not permanent, and then be okay. And then
it's definitely a roller coaster. You'll go to bed at night thinking like, there's so many things I need to do, I need to get all this stuff done, and then in the morning, after you've had breakfast or something, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it.
And for the place we're at, it's like no one's paying us to, like, so like I feel like so much, like, subconsciously the human mind is incentivized by money, for example, like, we will eventually learn to be on time for our jobs. We can be late for everything, but eventually one thing that we will like learn to be on time for is like our hourly paid jobs, because like we've conditioned ourselves to like cater to the hand that feeds our lifestyle. So when that, like, you're trying to pursue this dream and there's no money, and it's like you like the transparency of your self-discipline is really evident. Like, it's just like, my God, this is rough. Okay, I'm gonna get started now. And like, okay, the day's over. Whatever. Like,
It's sort of funny with that, because when we're like in the middle of a film project and we have a long day ahead, or maybe we're just halfway through a long day and it's just like we're doing a lot of really hard work, every now and then the thought will pop into my head, is like, you made all this happen, nobody is making you do this except you. It's like, okay, I'll keep going.
I have the same feeling. It's like, I literally could just not do this starting tomorrow, and all this stress that I'm putting on myself just doesn't exist anymore. It's not like, it's literally just me. Yeah, exactly. It's just me doing it. That's it. It doesn't have to be this way. And then you're like, but it does.
Yeah, the things we do to ourselves. But like, we have to, though. We can't not do it. So.
Exactly. And it's a beautiful thing, man, to really pursue what we desire. And it's all, who knows how many people you've inspired without you knowing, it's really, it comes down to that. Like, you have these experiences now, and then I guarantee, like, the interactions that you've had with people in your filmmaking experience, in 3, 4, 5 years, those experiences are going to be rewarding in your path without you even knowing how. And it's crazy, because I've had like some recent experiences with, like, I've met people 3, 4 years ago and we've had good interactions, and then it's come around to just like we reconnected, and it's been like a useful exchange of like for like filmmaking, because they're like, oh, this guy's a good guy, like he's let me help him out. Like, it was so it's crazy how that all comes together. Only if you keep going.
Like, I guess a lot of people, like, that very first film will be so difficult that, like, I don't know if I can really do that again, but you have to do it again. The first film is just it's just the very first step. You need that film so that you can start making good films. chance, but like that first film, like it probably will be terrible in some way, but you need to make that film.
And yeah, it's got to come out. It's got to come out. And for Rampage Electra, when I was like writing it, I was like, I could have spent 3, 4, 5 more months editing the script, but I was like, nope, done, on to the next. And people were like, are you sure? I was like, I'm just gonna follow my gut instinct. Just next casting, next filming. Are we sure we got the shot? Next, like, we don't have the time and luxury. Like, I trust in everyone around me that they want the best. No one's like, oh, whatever, I don't care if it's good or not. No, we all want the best. So if everyone around you wants the best, then you should have some confidence that this isn't going to be bad. Might not be the best. I was like, I'm not trying to make the best movie in the world. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to make the best movie that I can right now. And that's all I can do. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
And it's hard because there's a lot of perfectionists that you're going to work with. And then they're going to be like, no, we can't move on. And for me, I had to relabel myself as a completionist.
I think that's really good. Yeah. Like I heard a saying at one point, a film project is never finished, but it's abandoned, because there's always more that you can do. But, there comes a point where it's kind of not really worth it, and it's probably best for you to move on, You need to move on to more projects and start building that portfolio a bit more.
Yeah, like Rampage, the screen that you came to, that was the 5th sound mix that we did. And I was still sitting there going, okay, that, just making a list. And I'm like, oh, that's another 30 hours right there. That's a decent amount of work. But I talked to the guy that me and him did the sound, like the post-production sound, and we said we'd give it 3 more sessions of sitting down before we can just, but still, like, it's a matter of time for me to be like, all right, it's in the past now,
Yeah.
But almost there.
For your latest film, which is Rampage Electra, what would you say was the biggest challenge? So you've been through the entire process. What was the hardest part? All the way from like idea generation to distribution,
I would say distribution, because I'm still completely clueless, because the more I looked, like the more I'm like going into it, the more I'm like, oh wow, like there's really no one even is looking at Rampage Electra. No matter how good people told me it is, how good I think it is, like, is it bad? Is it actually that? And I go, no, it's like a decent movie. And I watch a bad movie, I'm like, okay, I think it's better than this, like story, but then I go, the biggest challenge is distribution. And from what I've learned through my own observation, I could be wrong, is nobody, including film festivals, production companies, distribution, cares about your film if they're not involved or invested from the very early stages of the script. If they can't give your script a thumbs up, then they're like, then that's what I think. It's like, for example, film festivals. I go, it's got nothing in film festivals. Like only WA Made was the one that like hosted us, and it was an incredible experience. Big shout out to Matthew Eels, and Jasmine. They're amazing people who put on together like a fantastic film festival. Super excited for the next one. But everyone else has been very like, so I'm sitting there and I go, okay, like obviously I'm not gonna like let this like break me, being like, oh, that's it, I'm like, okay, so what's going on here? So I think that film festivals accept films that are funded by organizations. So for example, this film was funded by so-and-so. So-and-so has a clear rapport with the film festival. The film festival has nothing to lose by rejecting my film, no matter how good they think it is. And if I was a film festival, I would make the same decision. I'm going to pick this organization that I have a good communication with that can help sponsor these film festivals that have actually some, like, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But I'm like, oh my God, it's that much harder to make it in as a true indie filmmaker, And I go, what do? I just keep going till I can be denied.
Distribution in general for just about the majority of filmmakers out there, it's just this huge question mark, this mysterious thing. Like, what is it? What do you do? How does that work? And there'll be so many times where I'll see like the application process for like an attachment role in a production or something like that, as like a producer's assistant or whatever it might be, or like for like a workshop program or something. And I was looking at one the other day for film producers. Like it said that you need to have, you can only have like this many years of experience, but you also need to have had this many projects, like distributed, in like theatrically or on a streaming service or something like that. It's like, how do those two things work?
Exactly.
Like,
Somebody was mentioning it to me. They want someone that's like has never directed a feature, but they want body of work to show that they can do it.
exactly.
And it's like very interesting because it's like pretty much
It's like, which one do you want me to have?
Yeah, you can't have both, and it's like a very like indirect way of saying sorry. Club's closed. Like you can't get in, buddy. You can't get in, and it's just like, what do? We build something bigger, and we just build something that we don't need them because whoever they are make it seem like it's impossible to get in. And for me, it's like, it's not impossible to make a film. It's not impossible to make a film that people enjoy. It's not impossible to promote your own work locally. Whether or not it's going to get any like the finances back required to pay the project, not now, but if you keep at it, it will. That's guaranteed. So there are like there's this one distribution company called Indie Rights. They don't take any fees. They take films and they do an 80-20 split. So they're incentivized. They take the 20%, they take 80. So they give you I'm applying for them right now to see. It's all indie films, and then they have I've done some reading up on them to see how authentic it is, and it seems pretty legit because it's something that can seem cool, but then it's just like it's really nothing. But so I am looking, once I do my final sound mix and polish my film up just one last time.
Just one more time.
One more time, and then I'll send it out to Indie Rights to see if it gets anywhere. And then there's another distribution company, Bounty Films. I know they're like, so like I told him, I was like, hey, listen, like it's kind of early. Like there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. So like, let's talk later. I was, in my head, I'm just like, let's talk after I get the big offer from Universal and blah.
Yeah, just waiting for that email. Then I'll let you know.
But I was so young. I didn't know anything. It's like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. But like distribution is quite crazy. Like when we made Heretics and we got into the distribution part of it, there were things that I didn't know that I didn't know. Like I had never heard of a DCP before. Like I realized that no one had ever explained that to me. Like I'd never heard that, that term. I was like, what is that? Why do I need that? We had like a test screening sort of thing, and all we needed for that was a USB. So I just figured, okay, that'll be how it is for everybody. But no, everybody was asking for DCP, so I had to, get one of those done. I really would have loved to have learned the process of how to do it myself. But I was looking at all these articles and all of them made it sound really complicated. So I ended up just, thankfully, the cinema where we were having our premiere screening also have a service where they make it into a DCP. So I was like, thank goodness.
Yeah. No, so the first year at Cert 3, we ended up making 15 short films in like one semester, which was hilarious. And then we rented I was like, Vanessa Cobb, she's part of like the Dalai Lama gang. She was just like half joking, but half serious, but like kind of like planting a seed, being like, what if we rented a cinema? Ha ha ha. I'm like, what if we rented a cinema? So I remember like, and they were like, you need a DCP. And we're like, what is a DCP? And then we asked one of the teachers, the lecturer, so I was like, can you help us make a DCP? And then the lecturer was so like, oh, DCP, you need years of blah, blah, blah. Oh, you wouldn't know it. Long story short, dude, it's literally click, click, render, DCP, like it's, I was like, why are people making like such a big thing about a DCP?
They really do. Like it scared me away from trying it.
Yeah.
Cause I needed it for like like in a couple of weeks from then or something. And I was like, from the sound of this thing, I need like a couple of months to make this file. And so
I need to order this DCP and I need to like build it like an IKEA piece. Yeah. There was the manual for that. Yeah.
Everything's talking about it like you need it in like the special case and everything. And
where's the suitcase that the DCP comes in? Like,
with like maybe like a security detail with the handcuffs and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like you got to pay. You want to pay extra security to transport the DCP, like insurance. I have DaVinci Resolve. I literally, it goes like click DCP, and then now that there's a color tag that I'm more understanding of that depending on the screen, you can, like, if it's like a white screen, you can make the color tags a bit more saturated, so it balances out. So it comes up like this is I'm picking up like 3 years later, you know. But in the beginning, it was literally just like click, click, export. What's the big deal, guys?
Okay. So maybe I'll have another look at that then.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it. Obviously, there's a bit more to it, but it's definitely not what me and you experienced with the DCP.
In ballpark amounts or percentages, tell us about the funding for this film. Yeah, you know, so like, how much did it cost? Where did the money come from? Did you have sponsors? Was it self-funded? And how was that money spent? Yeah. And then if I can add an extra bit to that question as well, let me know if there was anything that, like, instead of spending money, you were able to, you know, do something else to avoid spending money or to make it cheaper or something like that.
We spend about, like, I would say 40,000 at the most, maybe, for a final cut of 1 hour and 55-minute film. The biggest costs were food. I would say.
That's the important
making
one.
sure people have at least like breakfast and 2 strong meals and snacks and drinks and water. I think that was what I learned early on in my short film career to really cater the events. The second biggest expense, probably rentals. There was a Cinema Machine has this dolly track that we put on a jib. Like we put like a jib dolly, and that would run me about almost $400 for 1 day session. And we rented that out like 6 times because it was so fun. Very first week of filming, I remember it was the first 2 days was at like the Sienna's restaurant, and the third day was at a high school. And my parents worked at this high school as a canteen. They run the canteen there. And I talked to the principal. I was like, yo, I'm trying to film a movie. He was just like, I kept like pestering about it. I brought in a script, and I kind of presented him the legitimacy of what I'm doing. And then they got a bit excited. I kind of very briefly brushed over the fact that, you know, like nothing bad is happening while we're in this school. You know, like, it's just as politically correct as possible. And then the first day we had like the dolly jib track, and we were just like, yeah, let's go! Like, it was, there's so much hype around it. But yeah, so the rentals was definitely the second thing. And then production design. Production design, I would say, was equally to like the first two, or close second or close third. Definitely, like we started. That's something that I was not as familiar with in the filmmaking process, which now it's just like I value it. Like, I think cinematography and production design are on the same platform of importance. Like, there's a lot of different coins with a lot of different sides that make filmmaking. For me, it's just like cinematography and production design are 2 sides of the same coin. Like, now, that's what I think now. And then you can go, okay, then vision and sound, it's a different coin, but they're all part of the same coin. It's weird, you know. There's a lot of different. My partner, Brittany Tomisto, she is the production designer, and she jumped on board right when we started filming. So she wasn't there in pre-production. Like, when we first started dating, I would just like finish short films. I'd come home and we'd hang out, and then wouldn't even talk about filmmaking. I was just like, okay, cool. But she started being like, what are you doing? She's always had a creative eye for it. So she got involved. Like, and I was just like, I don't want to push this on you. You know, like, if this is something that it's fun for you, then let's do it. You know, there's definitely a place for you here that I'm realizing is a huge vacancy. And she was very excited to do it. And she helped save a good amount of money by being crafty, to answer your question. You know, like, she really was able to like spread the finances as thin as possible. She would, make a lot of things at home, print things out, cut them out, like tape them out, like making signs, just very small things that you look past because you're so busy with a million other things, you know. And
I feel like production design in particular is one of the main areas where that like budget saving creativity comes into play. Yeah, like on past films for me, I'd find a lot of set design in like Verge collection and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's when time is a valuable thing for that, because if you have the time to like source all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it's tough when you have full-time jobs, and you're doing things, and then you go, man, I don't have time, and we don't have the money either, but you have a will, then you're going to make it. So, and that's what we did. So, so like we filmed at Fremantle Prison, that scene. So there was a lot of extras that showed up, and we had to buy all white outfits for everybody, white bottoms, white tops, and then she contacted all the extras, and then she got all the alterations done, and then like on the day of, she assigned each extra a number. They came with their number. She already had the coat hanger with everything down to the shoes.
Cool.
It was insane.
Awesome.
Watching her work. It was great. But she also was just barely dipping her toes and understanding how to like fill a frame with artwork and the ratios of the different colors and how to color coordinate different characters. Like she's like exponentially growing, which is crazy, So seeing the cinematography of James Dudfield and the production design of Brittany Tomisto like intertwining into a monster, that I'm just like, holy crap.
Yeah, like I've seen just a couple of clips from the film that you're currently making, and just like the quality on that, the footage and the
it's mind-blowing, dude. It's mind-blowing.
It's so clean and it's beautiful.
The colors are popping, everything is balanced, everything's
exactly.
rich, it's the fine detail of cinematography and production design.
I'm
it's created something bigger than all of us, and I'm just like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. You just stand out of the way and just let them go for it.
Yeah, literally. I go, okay, I can just spend more time rehearsing with the actors real quick now. So, which I was able to do on this film set a lot more. I'm like, okay, you guys do this, and I'm just going to go and rehearse. Yeah. And
like it's really great because you can kind of just let them do their thing, and then you can focus on the duties that the director should be focusing on, which is just talking with the actors and
which I'm learning, because honestly, being the director of these projects, the least amount of thing I probably actually do is what a director is supposed to do, is just deal with the actors, because mainly I'm just thinking like a producer, making sure everyone has what they need to do their job.
Yeah, it is always quite tricky to separate those two mindsets, because it is like different sides of the brain.
Yeah, some days I'm just a producer, and I'm just chiming in as a director here and there when the actors have questions. But it's also like the faith I put into the actors, that they know what they're doing. And I do my part with reaching out to them and rehearsing with them prior to film days and going over them if they have any questions or not.
Yeah. Like at that point, that's when it's good to have those good actors, because then again, you can kind of let them roll with it a little bit. They can sort of, come up with parts of their backstory that they need to know, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And for me, that's literally, I tell them, hey, do you want me to give you a character background, telling you who your character is, or you want to read the script and you want to make up your own character? And if you have any like missing parts, you ask me, and I just give you what you want. I go, I have two options for you. Usually people go with the latter, like they want to figure out everything themselves, and if they have a question,
I think that's perfect.
Yeah. It's
because then it's so much more real and authentic to them, so they can.
Yeah. And also like it makes it seem like I'm like being like a sleazy car salesman, where I get away with not doing any work. Like, I'm telling you, this is the right way to do it. And I'm like, now I don't have to write a whole character background. I don't have to write all this, and I'll do it, but like, is that what you want? Like, that's not what you want. And I'm like, am I convincing them because I don't want to do the work, or?
Yeah, like I feel like the director's main role, so everyone is off sort of doing their different tasks, and the director's main role is just to ensure that everything is going in the same direction. That's all. Just to make sure that everything can connect back together. You said that the film is totally self-funded. So like, how did you get that money, or how long did it take to save up that money?
All right. So my parents run a catering business. They do a catering business and a canteen business. So the food they sponsored, and so that was something that they like helped out as parents,
That's cool.
I spent about 11 to 12 grand from my own money I worked just every second I had. You know, I was a full-time student at the time. I worked nonstop around the clock every second I had. I didn't have a social. I mean, I did have a social life, but I didn't want to have a social life anymore. I didn't care to have a social life anymore. I was just like, you know, like people like that we film with, they were like, oh my God, let's go hang out after this. I'm like, I'm not saying we never did, but I was like, I really only want to hang out with you guys when we're on set together. Like, this is the relationship I want to have with you guys.
Yeah.
You know, like this is the most fun way for me to interact with you guys, is creating film. Really sacrificing that, and it doesn't feel like a sacrifice anymore after a while, because you start feeling that slow reward of actually living a life that you enjoy, even though if it's grueling and painful at a lot of times. But and then my parents probably, I would say, my brother from America, he lent me, I think, like $4,000. Then my partner Britt, she put in about like $6,000 to $7,000 of her own money. And my parents just, like, you know, like funded the rest, like, you know, like
filling in the gaps.
With me working with them, we're still like literally going over like the finances, because it was just like, here's what they paid, and then here's me like working to pay them back, and it's just kind of just like a kind of keeping a running tab open. But my parents were just like, look, like this is the first time we actually see you being like a productive person, you know? Like, we didn't always get along, and I always had like some issues. Like I said, all my 20s, I was just like a drunk. I was the most like exciting guy at the pub, you know? And I was just like, I don't want that anymore. I don't want that anymore. You know, like, this is not, I want more than that. So like, I moved cities, and I kind of became the same person again. And I was just like hot. And then I moved again, and then I kept reinventing myself until I feel like I got it out of my system, where like literally now I'm like, the idea of going out is just like, hell no, like, it's exhausting, you know? Like, well, before in my early 20s, I was just like, all I want to do is go out and see what's going on, you know? But then you realize there's nothing going on except for what you got going on. And and so I just want to always make sure there's things going on, and things stay exciting, and things stay fresh, and it's our responsibility to keep it that way. So
and it's really cool, you know, because like back when I was at the Rampage Electra screening, and you were, you know, talking in front of everyone and that kind of thing, I could just, you know, I can just see so much life, you know, so much, like, you know, I can see the fire burning inside, you know.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, man. I appreciate that. It's really kind of you to say. And I like, and you mentioned a lot of people after their first feature, they're just like, with their last breath, they just hand off the movie. But for me, I'm just like, no, like, you know, like, I've had to really reshape myself. Instead of decreasing the workload, I'm reshaping myself. Like, for example, it's been like, I think 17 weeks now I'm tobacco free. I wasn't like a heavy smoker, but I was still like 2, 3, 4 cigarettes a day for what, 10 years now? I'm like, my God, it's been 10 years. You know, like, this for me, like, to each their own. But like, I can see like this life of a filmmaker. We need to have our mind as clear as possible, and give it longevity for as much as possible. So I can't like deal with all the stress and have these like unhealthy ways of coping with it. I need to reorganize myself so I can handle this better.